Yo, what up, and welcome to my August reads. August was pretty good. I read 6 books if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to go really quickly through all of those. So the first book that I finished was something I started in July, and that was called China's Disruptors by Edward Tse. So it's one of those economy books that have been popping up during last few years, and their aim is to explain what is Chinese economy doing, why is it successful, and how could we then, I don't know, not really learn, but learn to deal with what an economic success China is. And this book was interesting because I felt like it was kind of a job ordered by the men who work in these companies that that the Edward Tse was describing. So what do I mean by that? The book was very celebratory. It was very non-critical to the things described here, and it really felt like somebody had paid him to write it, because they really didn't bring out any flaws in this system. But what I mean by that is it was a nice light read in a sense, and I definitely want to read more because now I feel like I know the main actors, or at least the main public actors in the sector. And it told the story about Alibaba, Xiaomi, Tencent, and some of the other big companies. And it was really interesting, but like I said, I felt like it was lacking in depth and critical view of it. That doesn't mean that I think that we should be very critical of the Chinese economy and what happens there, but I did feel like this was very one-sided. But it was nice, and it was pretty short, so definitely recommend picking this up if you are interested in the subject. So completely different was this young adult book about Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe. Like you see from here, this book has gotten a lot of different prizes, and I really enjoyed it. I feel like this is one of the sweetest and best done young adult romances that I have read, and I was a bit pretty angsty teenager myself, so I felt like a lot of it resonated with me, and I don't know if I was going through emotional time during reading it, or was it just writing itself that was so good. But I would say that around last 100 pages I cried constantly. It really hit hard for some reason. So yes, I really like this book. I feel it's a bit different than the others, and yeah, enjoyed it. Recommend it if you like it, or if you like those sort of stories, definitely pick it up. The next small book that I read was one of those Penguin classics. So this was about suffragettes. I've read a lot of books about suffragette movement last few months, or maybe just during this 2018 year, and this was nice. Things that I read here I already knew from Emmeline Pankhurst's book My Own Story, but if you're interested in the topic, you can pick it up. It's like £1, so definitely gives a nice introduction to the topic, and it had a couple of good primary sources that maybe if you're a teacher you can use. Going forward, if we touch upon being a teacher and finding things you can use in your classroom, then this book by Doris Lessing, which is about prisons in which we live voluntarily. I think that would be the translation of the title. Is a really good source book again, because she's a writer, but these small essays or 5 lectures that she did in radio, I think, yes, in 1985. These are the lectures she did in 1985, and I feel like a lot of them are very relevant today. I thought that some of the things she assumed or told about history were not correct, which is excusable because she's not a historian, but some of the other things, the way she looked at them were very interesting and a bit controversial. So that's a great thing for a classroom if you read a story where you feel like, yes, I agree to some extent, but those texts are really good. So that means it can create a nice discussion. So I think it was the second one that I really went to town with, because when I started reading this book, I did something I don't usually do. I picked up a pen and I started just lining certain sections and writing notes for myself, because it really, I don't know how to say it, got my creative juices flowing, or just I had a lot of thoughts. Let's leave it at that. So I really like this. If you live in Estonia, do pick it up. I think it was, where is it? It's €3.50. I think they should still have it on sale. Please read it. I think it's good for your development, and I don't think you have to agree with everything she says, but it's good to think about these topics about our freedom, about the I don't know, boundaries we set on ourselves, about the boundaries the society sets on us, and how we really understand ourselves. We usually understand ourselves by comparing us to somebody else, and how this kind of way of living maybe is not the best during the age we are in. Okay, maybe I should do a whole video about it, because I have a lot of thoughts. But yes, Doris Lessing, The Prisons in Which We Live Voluntarily, definitely recommend this book. It's short as well, so you can go through it, but then, yes, like I said, you have a lot of things to think about after it, I would assume. Then the book I don't have with me was pain in the ass to read, and that was Terry Pratchett, Interesting Times. So I took it from the library and I had to pay a fine for it because I didn't finish it. And then I didn't want to bring it back to them because I wanted to finish it. And it took me around 2 months, because it was about the adventures of Rincewind, which is not really my cup of tea, but I'm trying to read all the Discworld novels in their correct order now, so I had to read it. And I think what really resonated with me from there now when I think back to it is that it was like a curse. The Interesting Times was the title of it, but it was like a curse. I hope you live in interesting times. So it was something that they said in the Empire, where Rincewind was adventuring, and it resonated with me because I was rewatching Lord of the Rings series, and Frodo there was saying that I wish the ring had never come to me, and the Gandalf says, this is what we all think, this is what all people think who, well, not people, this is what everybody thinks who lives during those times, but we can overcome it, and it chooses us for a reason, or something along those lines. And I felt like it was a really nice lesson to think that even though life puts hurdles on our way, we can overcome it. I realized that this is more about the Lord of the Rings movie than about the book. But well, the book I have not. I can now cross the book off my to-read list. That's okay. The last book that I read was Spectacles, a memoir by Sue Perkins, and I really love Sue Perkins. I was first introduced to her when I was watching QI, and I really liked her character. It felt like she was smart, she was educated, she was quick on her feet. And when I saw that she had a autobiography out, I wanted to read it. And wow, okay, so I definitely didn't think I was going to read a book that I actually got, because it's really well done, it's funny, but it's also kind of an eye-opener that you don't really know people from TV as you think you do. I know, such a big discovery to make, but what I mean by that was she was not very likable, especially, well, actually throughout her 20s and 30s. I wouldn't think I could be friends with her. And I would say that people who are friends with her or were friends with her then are great. I mean, I feel like it was the right time for her to write the book, because at the end I felt like she had matured quite a bit, and she did say that she didn't write about everything. She picked out pieces that would make people like her more, as would I when I would write my memoir. But yes, it was really interesting. If you're familiar with her, I would definitely suggest you to pick it up, because it didn't make me hate her. I mean, she's great, but I think it was really interesting how people mature, how they take their time, where life takes them. And I appreciate it. Was a different type of autobiography than I have read before, so I do appreciate that. And that's all. That's my 6 books that I read in August, and can I really believe it? It seems like I managed to finish everything in 14 minutes. Okay, those are the books. And I hope you have a good month. I hope you read good books, and